Well, good morning. I have to echo Mr. Brian Penny, and I think it's one of the biggest groups I've seen here at the conference. And again, thanks to the organizers, I think a great job. And even with the technical perspective, you can see there's big improvements every year and how you register and so on and so forth. So good on the group to have this turnout. My name is Rudy Tucker. I'm the Vice President of Operations with Tata Steel Minerals Canada. But before I go on, I just got a couple questions. How many people in the room, raise your hand, have heard of Tata Steel Minerals Canada? Wow. How many people have heard of Tata? Oh, good. I'm not going to go through this slide, but let me just show you the Tata group. I'm suspecting there's a lot of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians in there, so for the people that have not heard of Tata, you probably have drank some of their products. Tetley Tea is owned by Tata. So just to give you an example, we don't think that when we drink tea, but Tetley Tea is owned by Tata. But look, just give you an overview, and the reason why I'm doing this, because there's probably people that don't understand. So there's 30 companies across the business itself. Greater than 1 million employees, greater than 100 countries, 6 continents we operated in, $165 billion group revenue, that was in FY 23-24, and $365 billion group market capitalization, and that was in FY 23-24. And you can see, the 10th largest steel producer in the world, 35 million tons annual crude steel capacity, 46 million tons of raw material mined, and again, that was in FY 23-24. $28 billion in revenue in FY 23-24, and $25 billion in that same year for market capitalization. Now let's talk a little bit about our operations, and some of this some people may have seen before, but I want to give everybody an update. So we're located near Schifferville, and we actually started production in August of 2012 from a mining perspective doing direct shipping because our concentrator had not been constructed at that time. But we have a run rate production from respect to the mining operations, and you'll see that direct shipping iron ore. And one of the reasons why the project is referred to as DSO Timmins is the actual ore in the ground is 58, 59%. So the upgradation to get to that 64, 65%, it doesn't take a lot. But in addition, we do have what we call true DSO, where it's only required to crush and screen. So our direct shipping iron ore, the DSO, is around 2 million tons per year. Concentrator rated operations is at 4 million tons per year. Obviously, we produce a high quality output, 62 to 65% iron. We have a state-of-the-art plant, and one of the things I would say to you that, with the state-of-the-art plant, we have had some difficulties, which we'll talk about shortly. And obviously, the rail network is huge for us, because we have, 3 different key providers with respect to moving the material from Schifferville site to the port. Access to IOC port, thanks to Rio Tinto and IOC for their support, and obviously, we pay for it, but it's good to have that good collaboration. Obviously, our intent is to sell mostly to Tata Steel Europe. It's within our own organization, and that's where we get, the best bang for the buck kind of thing. And we also sell to China. We have a 219 camp facility. We have 175 at site and 44 in town. And the entire site is powered through 5 diesel generator sets. So when Brian is talking about, the carbon and emissions, and, we right now have 5 diesel gen sets, which takes a lot of diesel fuel. So obviously carbon emissions is critical. So just a snapshot, for TSMC. We currently have around 120 million tons of reserve, up to 64% higher for the product. We have less than 1% alumina, less than 6.5% silica. Our concentrator capacity is 4 million tons per year. We do a recovery of 92%, but that's a combination of the concentrator and DSO. And, you know, so far this year, just to give you an example, this year for us is one of the best years. If not going to be, it may be the best year. We'll see, because our year starts from April and goes to March. So we're sitting around already 3 million tons of ore moved. We have a life expectancy of around 20 years. The distance that we move our material is like 618 kilometers. So, and in doing that, we have 3 different parties. From a health and safety perspective, we have a less than 1 LTIFR. And our total personnel, this includes contractors as well, 550 on average. So, you know, we're employing a nice few people. So why us? Everybody got a story. You know, Brian was up here, why Tocora? Why Rio Tinto? Well, we have a large-scale, high-quality resource. We have a robust iron ore product with strong fundamentals. We get really good feedback from our customers on the quality of our ore. We're a de-risked integrated operation with state-of-the-art infrastructure with significant investments. And a continued ramp-up expected to drive significant near-term production and also cost optimization. Because at the end of the day, if you're not, you know, looking at cost, then there's no point in producing. Fully permanent mine with working community support. You know, I'd be remiss if I didn't say the support that we get from IET is spectacular, and good collaboration with the department. And obviously our safety track record and commitment to our environmental guidelines. So current active pits, so we have 2 zones, what we call Area 3 and Area 4. And that comes from the ILC times. Area 3 is where our plant infrastructure and our camp infrastructure is located. And that's in Newfoundland and Labrador. Area 4 is broken up into Newfoundland and Labrador and Quebec. And one of the main mines we operate in Quebec is Goodwood. And we have Kivavix in Area 4, and around the plant we got like Timmins 3, Timmins 4. So we have like 5 deposits in and around the plant. So from a productivity perspective, these deposits obviously are much more productive and cost effective. So look, I mean, overall operations, just a typical blast and shovel mining. We don't use face shovels. We use a backhoe type configuration. And, you know, our distances, we do have a 30-kilometer haul with haul trucks, which, as you can imagine, is a long distance. And in any given shift, one operator will drive 300 kilometers. So, and one of the things from a safety perspective that we have to be very, very careful with, when you're driving 30 kilometers empty and 30 kilometers full, the fatigue. It's a long haul and people can get kind of tired and sleepy. So we have a dry process, obviously crushing and screening, as I said, which is one of the key factors for us, and most of that comes from Goodwood. About 25% of our product is dried to reduce moisture, because with our DSO, the moisture content is high. It comes from Goodwood. It's got a bit of a yellow ore, which is a goethite, which got a little bit of a higher LOI. So we have to dry a certain percentage to make sure that it meets the transportable moisture limits for the ships, so on and so forth. Obviously, our WIP beneficiation, which is our concentrator, we upgrade the input feeds anywhere from 56 to 57 to 61 to 64, and I'll explain a bit more about that shortly. Obviously, crushing and screening using spirals and plothics, jigs, the typical system within the plant itself. Logistics, transportation, obviously by rail from loading station at Timmins to ports. We do have access to 2 ports, ILC and Pointe Noire, but we've used ILC. We haven't used Pointe Noire for some time. And obviously shipping to end users in Europe and China, and ship loading is done using ILC's port. currently. I'm not going to get into a lot of this, but it's a bit, busy slide. But typical mining, all we do is when we move the material from the mine, we actually do it in two different types. We have the concentrator feed and we have a DSO feed. So DSO feed just goes directly to a mobile crushing screening, and the wet plant goes to the plant itself. And then we use loaders to load the trains, 2 loaders at a time, 164 cars. And when that's loaded, obviously, then it's sent out to port, and we go to either IOC dumper or what we call P-track. P-track requires more handling because you have to offload and then transport to the reclaim area. So, from a geology perspective, look, we're in the Labrador Trough, we're on the west side. But what's more important there that I want to point out, you'll see on the bottom of the slide the blue, the red, and the yellow. And when I go into the next couple of slides, you'll see the significance of that. When we did the feasibility and the design of the plant was designed to take 70% blue, 20% yellow, and 10% red. So you'll see the blue is a coarser grain, and obviously it's a friable and consists of hematite and martite. The red is like a red hematite, but what happens, it's like clay. It's a very good quality, but it's like a clay. The yellow is a goethite, a very fine grain, laminitic type material, and retains a very high moisture to the point trying to process it by itself is next to impossible. We've done everything to try to do something with it. The significance here is that was 70, 20, 10. Now, the blue type ore. In Area 3, when I showed you the map, that blue type ore in Area 3 is the best blue type ore. We also have blue type ore we have in the Goodwood area, K1C area, but it's a higher in moisture, bit lower in hematite, and when you feed that into the plant, you still don't get the same result as you would get in feeding the material from the Area 3. So resource estimation, obviously, is like any organization, is how we do our block modeling and everything else. A lot of this is done from the historical data from IOC as well. But at the end of the day, it's just standard typical resource block modeling that's done by any mining company. We have a mining fleet that we rent from a company out in Alberta. So again, we carry like 13 789 trucks, which is 180 metric ton capacity. We have 777s, we have water trucks, we have typical 16 HIM graders. The 988 loaders are used mostly for feeding and taking away from the plants, but also from loading the trains. And our drill and blast is contracted out. And but all the equipment we have rented, it's all Tyler Steel Minerals kind of employees that operate that equipment. We have our own employees. So, it's been interesting. This year has been one of the better years, and the equipment has been really reliable for us. So, concentrator operations, again, look, it's designed for like 4.2, 4.4 million tons. We haven't reached that. This year is the best year we've had with the concentrator. And the reason why it's the best year we've had with the concentrator, we changed the blend feed because of that blue type ore. So that's given us good. So right now at the concentrator, we're over 700,000 tons, and we wouldn't have been near that only for that change in the feed. So it was commissioned in April 2019, and obviously one of the largest industrial, like the big span, what they call a dome. Everybody was interested in the dome. Water design capacity is 4.2. We're looking at a run rate of around 3 million tons currently, with the anticipation we'll get to that 4 million tons. We can get a 75 to 78% recovery, but again, it's got to be the right blend. And the average input is 56 to 57, because over time, when we started, The blend feed for the plant was 59 and 12. But we've moved a lot of DSO. So that grade now is sitting between 56 to 58. Our intent, initially when we started, we never did operate year-round. And we've been fortunate enough, we do have seasonal employees that keep coming back, which is a good sign that there's a reason why they come back. Now, we did put a system in place to retain them, but at the same time, they look forward to having that couple of months off and coming back. Visiting class, obviously design, when we talk about, the automation of the plant, and innovative technologies deployed to recover, and the numerous improvement projects that we've underwent and still continue to do. We're going through an improvement project right now. So this is where I want to be. One of the things, obviously, in mining, you always got to continue looking at your resource and your reserves and exploration. So, as I said earlier about the blue type ore, in March, we were struggling with the plant. And we had an area in one of our deposits close to the plant, Timmins 3, where we had mined before, and we still had reserves. There was one area there that we had blasted 3 or 4 years ago. So we wanted to do a trial, and we did a trial by free digging, and we fed like 20,000 tons into the plant. Well, our yield, prior to feeding that 20,000 tons, was like 50% on center fines. It went to 75%. So then we realized, not that we didn't know, but we realized the significance of this type of blue ore. So hence we started to do some exploration drilling again this past year with the focus on Area 3, and more specifically Timmins 3. And you can see from this slide, like in Area 3, that's where we did most of the exploration drilling. And that's where most of the meterage was with respect to the drilling program. Area 4, we did do some in Kivavik 3, because Kivavik 3 has got that blue type ore as well. And you can see all total we did 68 holes and almost 5,000 meters. And that's the whole idea, is to look at how ways and means that we can actually keep this blue type of ore in the system. So with that being said, after we did the exploration drilling, we noticed in Timmins 3 North, to the south of Timmins 3 North, and to the north of Timmins 3 North, we're picking up in the vicinity of 3 million tons. So that will be, instrumental in the short term. Short term for us is like from now into March, April, to get that blue type ore available to keep feeding the concentrator during the winter. Because you can imagine in the Schifferville area, Labrador West, those places, the temperatures are extreme. And if you got any type of ore that's of any high moisture, it becomes much more difficult from a processing perspective. So this material really helps. So, we've been working with IET, and we're still working with IET to get this Timmins 3 North, South, and North areas approved for start the development and get access to the ore. So again, I'd like to thank the IET department for all their help working with us. I think the next one is the house project. This one has been talked about a lot. So right now, the organization is ready to move forward. It's got around 45 million tons of proven and probable reserves. The good thing with the house deposit, the average grade is 63% iron and around 5.9% silica. So that tells you that you have a real high grade in that deposit, areas where it's high grade, but you also have areas that are a lower grade. Now, what's key here for the house deposit for Tata Steel Minerals Canada? Right now, currently, all of our DSO is coming from Goodwood, which is in Quebec. So we deal with two different governments, plus the federal government. That DSO right now, the type of DSO that we need, that will finish up within a couple of years. Outside of Goodwood, we do have some other deposits with DSO, but Goodwood has been the biggest supplier of DSO. Next to Goodwood is House. Now the difference in House and Goodwood, House is going to be blue type ore. Goodwood is a mixed bag of blue, yellow, red. So what House does for us, it gives us a better DSO, but it also gives us the ability to run the concentrator in a much more design way. And the more important part, it's only like 4 kilometers from the plant versus 30. So just imagine, productivity. So from Goodwood to the plant, I'm just rounding it off, it's about 80 tons per hour for the trucks. Here you're looking at 250 to 300 tons an hour. So your cost, your productivity, everything is really improved. So right now, again, we're working with IET in the final stages to get final approval, and then we'll start developing the House project. So again, it's going to be a big benefit for us. I don't know how many people are here from Labrador. So just give you an idea of the House project, where it is. You may have never been there. How many people saw this picture years ago with all the caribou on the hill? You remember that picture? Well, House project is at the base of that mountain. That mountain is called Irony Mountain. And it's got some real, I guess, it's a bit of a sacred mountain with respect to the locals, because it's a landmark. So no matter where they are out hunting and fishing, they can always look and see Irony Mountain. So obviously, as you know, like all of us, working with our indigenous partners, that's crucial to the business as well. So here just to show some quality improvement based on the blue type ore. And you can see, if you look at, the top one, the silica reduction, and, you'll see over the time, and you'll see again with the FE improvement, we've did a drastic improvement with respect to silica and iron when we introduced the blue type ore. And again, the blue, the reds can be mixed with the blue, but it's got to be a certain percentage. So overall, this is a key focus for us. Well, one of the things that's recognized, and we had a visit from a couple mining companies, and they were astonished at our laboratory, our lab. It's a state-of-the-art lab. Very, very good. And, obviously we use it faithfully, but the issue for us is not about our lab, is where we're involved in DSO, and we use P-track to offload our product. So there's a lot of sampling that got to happen, not just at the site, train loading, when you're offloading the train, and then because you're using somebody else's port, in this case IOC, they have to come and take some samples because in order to make sure that the moisture limit, more specifically, it doesn't exceed the transportable moisture limit before it goes into the loading yard. And then once it gets into the loading yard, it's sampled again before it goes onto the ship. And as the ship is loading, all the samplers are sampling again. And if there's any upset between the P-track and the loading yard, then we may have to bring things back, so on and so forth. So very important that we get it all right before it gets to that perspective. And then they bring in an independent ISO person to the company to actually verify the results. So product performance over the years, again, just to show the, our typical Timmins standard is like 61.5%. Running out of time, am I? I'll skip this one. Let me go to this one. I think everybody here has talked about the environment. Everybody's here talked about sustainability. And one of the things, we're a member of the Quebec Mining Association. We're committed to protecting our natural environment. And I think with Michelle was up there speaking from CAMI project. On the left bottom corner, we have a water treatment plant in Goodwood. You can see the before and after it goes to the treatment process. So, you know, the cost of all this is the cost of mining, but you can see that when the water is discharged after the treatment, looks like you can drink it. So it's one of the things we want to avoid, red water. I'll close off by saying, obviously, the sustainability piece, we do use 100% recycled or processed water from within the plants, from the tailings. And our pit water is used for dust suppression. Surface runoffs are treated prior to release. We partner with our communities in and around the operations areas because we operate in an area where we have 2 different communities. And obviously our activities are updated, communicated through monthly newsletters to the community. We also have quarterly discussions with all the committees with the community. And that's key to our success as well. That's the end of the presentation. Thank you very much.